Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tell It Like It Is with Carl Jackson. I is he. I'm glad you're joining me today. Don't forget, this afternoon I will be broadcasting live with the Salem Radio Network at CPAC at the Hyatt Regency. So look forward to that, 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. I'll be streaming on Facebook Live as well. Probably won't be on YouTube simultaneously, but Facebook. So check that out. But what I really wanted to speak about this morning is I want to talk about the what is this? The Equality Act. This is probably the most dangerous legislation that I have seen or heard of. I knew that we would be losing ground to the left pretty rapidly, but this would turn America into not just a socialist country, but I believe a communist country overnight. The Equality Act has already passed in the House, and it is anything but an Equality Act. I'm sitting in studio with Tony Maestro and J Doggy Dog, and you guys feel free to leave questions, comments, or concerns. Just type them out to us, and we will respond to some of them at least. But I'm glad you're joining me today. I really wanted to dive into this because I've been thinking there's been all types of news hitting this week, and then and I'll be discussing that later this evening if you tune in on Facebook again from 6 to 8. But for now, I really wanted to dive into the Equality Act. But there's so much hitting from the Supreme Court just being completely feckless when it comes to election integrity. Not taking up that case to what we're seeing on the borders. All of this stuff is intertwining or intertwines in order to make America I would say, communist country overnight. Because just looking at this Equality Act, we would be in a heck of a lot of danger. The Equality Act is anything but about equality. It undermines Black suffrage. I'll explain how. It undermines women's sports and the feminist movement. I honestly, women who say that they are a part of a feminist movement, the feminist movement is done. I mean, seriously, everything that women supposedly have fought for, these female feminists have fought for over decades will be wiped away if the Senate passes this Equality Act. Whomever your senator is, it doesn't matter. I think this is an issue that the right, the left, and everyone in between that has a conscience, and common sense can agree upon. But this isn't going to stop unless we change it. I understand that we are politically on the opposite ends of the spectrum. This will hurt every single one of us. It'll hurt this nation to a point where it'll be, in my opinion, irreparable. We will. If this were to pass, I don't see how we come back. I really don't see how we come back because I don't believe that we have the type of conservatives in office that are, or at least enough conservatives in office that are strong enough to talk back against this and fight this back and push this back. Nor do we have, at least right now, we don't have the media coverage that the left has. The fact that the media controls big tech now, thank God for the new places that are popping up like Rumble. By the way, I will be on Rumble. I actually just created an account there, so you guys can look forward to that. But we're going to have to start working quickly on building these other sites, people that do have that experience, because this is crazy. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is from the Federalist. The title of this, Blessings of Liberty, How the Equality Act Viciously Attacks Christians, Freedom, Society, Sex, and You. And sex, male and female. I don't like using the term gender. I notice a lot of, I don't like going with the lingo that the left goes with. So if you guys hear me use the term gender, just pimp slap me, because gender suggests fluidity, and there is no fluidity in sex. There are males and females. There are not 52, 56, whatever it is. There are male and female, biological male, biological woman. Every once in a while, there's what they call, I guess, a PAT. That is such a rare condition that it's almost not worth mentioning. But it's funny how the left always uses something that is so small and virtually infinitesimal, non-existent, in order to blow things up, like they're doing with the $15 minimum wage. Anyway, okay, so this act, which has passed through the House anyway, they're now sending it to the Democratic Senate. Obviously, the Senate is 50-50 split. Kamala Harris is the deciding vote. I don't believe any of this stuff is being done by Joe Biden. I challenge anyone to, I won't say challenge anyone. I don't believe Joe Biden can count to 10 without a cheat sheet. I do not. But this thing will attack and does attack Christianity at its core. Now, if you're not a Christian, if you're not a religious person, you may be saying, hey, listen, I don't care. Listen, the only reason you're able to enjoy the freedoms and liberty in America is because of a Judeo-Christian founding. Even if you're an atheist, the reason why you're able to enjoy the blessings of liberty is because you live in a nation that was designed, that was created, that was founded under Judeo-Christian principles. If those principles erode, you will not have freedom, because then we are subjected to just subjective morality, right? There are absolutely no absolutes. So if a communist wants to come in and say, listen, we need to kill, well, a communist is typically going to be an atheist. But if a communist wants to come in and say, we're going to kill all black people, we're going to kill all women, who's to say that's morally wrong if we don't have a source for objective truth? So even if you are not a Christian or a person of faith, you should be extremely concerned about this. So now this bill goes into the Senate. Here's what they want to do. They want to undermine the morality of marriage, of traditional marriage. They want to undermine, this bill is seeking to undermine sex and identity. And when I say sex, I do mean biological male, biological female identity for those that are struggling with an identity crisis. And what they would like to do is to strike the biological sex from the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and they would replace it with sexual orientation and gender identity. Pause. Let me pause here for a moment, because this is where I get mad at some black people. This is really frustrating to me. Excuse me, take a swig. This is really frustrating to me because, for one, there are a lot of blacks, Democrats, and listen, I'm saying this because I love you. People want to call me a sellout, uncle. I don't, whatever. I'm saying this because I love you and I want the best for you. And when I talk about the best for you, I think about heavenly life, eternal life, not just what we deal with on this earth. So here's a beef that I have with black Democrats, black liberals, black whatever, people that are not blacks, that don't like the Constitution or don't like America, or claim stupidly, by the way, ignorantly, that America is systemically racist. This 1964 Civil Rights Act does more to undermine black suffrage than anything I've seen ever. And it's being done by the party that you vote for. Think about this. Were transgenders forced to sit at the back of a bus? Were transgenders forced to sit to drink from a different water fountain? Some of you may say, well, they weren't around. And no. There were some around. Were they in hiding? Perhaps. But you're talking about a very, very tiny, infinitesimal portion of a population, people that struggle with gender dysphoria. And that's what it is. It is a mental condition called gender dysphoria. I encourage you to look it up, to research it on another platform other than Google. Go somewhere else where you can get real information. But at gender dysphoria, G-E-N-D-E-R, gender, D-Y-S-P-H-O-R-I-A. Look it up. But what this says, this Equality Act, which is no Equality Act at all, is basically that men that believe they're women or women that believe they're men deserve the same status as a group of people, blacks, my people, that endured slavery, that endured Jim Crow, that endured real suffering. And it puts men that want to be women and vice versa in the same category. That is an insult. Every one of you that votes Democrat, that believes in civil rights, that believes that blacks should not be discriminated against, that supposedly believes that America is systemically racist, you should be the first one calling your Democrat senators and congressmen and saying, how dare you vote for this Disunity Act? That's what it is, or an Inequality Act. This specifically discriminates against blacks and minorities by pretending that we're on the same platform as men that believe they're women and vice versa. This is absolutely sickening. What the Democrat Party is doing, or they are legalizing bigotry with this act. That's what they're doing. They're legalizing bigotry. Don't get caught up in the titles. This is what politicians do. They'll give you a title, right? Equality Act. It sounds so good. Of course, I'm for equality. Well, first off, you have to check yourself, check them to see what their real agenda is. Read up on it, because the left always wants to, they are better at framing issues than the right, but they never want to accomplish what's in the title of their bills. They really don't. Affordable Care Act, for instance. Healthcare has become extremely less affordable after Obamacare was implemented. So they give you these nice titles, and then they fundamentally destroy America as we know it, because that's what they want to do. To go to what? It's crazy. To go to a socialist, a socialist nation. I believe they're going past socialism, to be quite honest, because they are authoritarian. There's going to be oligarchs. It's going to be a society of the have and the have-nots if the Democrats get your way. So everyone that's not a Bill Gates, everyone that's not a LeBron James, you fall in the category of the have-nots. That's the society that Democrats are creating right now, while they keep you so mad at Trump, a president that's out of office, that you can't think straight. You can't see what they're doing. So they want to undermine traditional values. The victims of this Equality Act will be religious people, Christians, Jews, Catholics, Mormons, you name it, traditionalists. If you're a biker and you at least are like, hey, listen, man, I'm not into the church thing and all that kind of stuff, but I understand male-female relationships are important. I understand that there is a God. I understand that, there's got to be some source for objective truth. There's got to be a higher power. Otherwise, we're just living by man's opinions. We're subjected to man's opinions rather than a true moral authority. If you get that in the least sense, they're coming for you too. This is why you need to fight against this. The left has to undermine religion. They have to undermine religion. If they don't, the left needs government to replace God. And if you guys want to chime in, feel free to do so. The left wants to replace God. They have to replace God. They have to put government on the throne. And if we don't pay attention to some of the things that they're doing, that's exactly what's going to happen. They also want to replace the individual. So this is, we talk about, as conservatives, we talk about individual liberty. And a lot of people get offended by that, or it triggers some very sensitive millennials, or even people, Generation Xers, or the baby booming generation that haven't grown up yet. But individuality in America is part of what makes America great. The fact that we can the reason why Bill Gates is Bill Gates is because he took advantage of his Americanism, right? He was allowed to create, do his own thing, and become a success as a result of it. The same is true for LeBron James. The same is true for artists. The same is true for attorneys, plumbers, whomever. We take advantage of the system that is a brilliant system that says, listen, no matter who you are, you can be you in America. And if you work hard enough and network well enough, because part of success is being able to network with people, learn more, figure out how to get ahead, you can succeed. So Black people or anyone that thinks, hey, listen, I can't succeed in America because it's systemically racist, it's just not true, because our system is based upon individual liberty. Our system is based upon natural rights. So even if the founders created a government that you think is racist because they implemented natural rights, you're free to be you. It's the reason why Americans were able to repent of slavery, so on, etc. Jim Crow, we're not a perfect nation, but we've moved beyond that stuff. The left is trying to take us back, but you have to understand natural rights. You have to understand individual liberty. These are very important. Conservatives respect individuals. We love you. We love what you bring to the table in America, and we want you to succeed. That's what conservatism is. We want to conserve the Constitution. We want to conserve traditional values. We want to conserve our Judeo-Christian heritage because it's better for the individual out there who's struggling that says, I just want to be me and get ahead. You can do that. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. But the left wants to replace individualism. They want us to think as a group. They want us to think as a commune. That's what they want. Because if they can put us into groups, it's easier to control us. But when you have 330 million individuals thinking independently, you can't control that. But if you can say, hey, let's put you in the Black group, let's put you in the Latino group, let's put you in the transgender group, let's put you in the gay group, then what we can do is make enemies with the other groups and say, hey, I'm from the government and I can fix this, vote for me. And that's what the left does. That's what they wisely do. And this is what this Equality Act, this Inequality Act will do. Churches are the targets primarily because they're the last line of defense against socialism, against communism. Just like I said, government or God. It's government or God. Either you live in a nation, you're going to be run by the government. The government is going to get to dictate who you are and what you become, or you can say, God, here I am, send me. What did you create me for? What is my purpose? Who can I connect with that can help me grow in this area? We have the freedom to do that. The left is trying to Democrats. And honestly, when I say leftist now, I mean the Democrat Party, because you're either a leftist purposely or you're a leftist by default if you vote for today's Democrat Party. There is no such thing as a moderate Democrat anymore, not within the Democrat Party system. There is no such thing as a liberal Democrat anymore within the party system. Otherwise, you'll get kicked to the curb like Alan Dershowitz and John Lieberman or Joe Lieberman was back in the day. So they're targeting churches because it is America's last line of defense. We expected when they shut down this nation with the lockdowns, what I had hoped for, what we had expected was that churches would say, wait a minute, you're infringing upon our religious liberties. You're going a little too far. You know, we're willing to pay attention to the science, but when the science starts shifting like the wind, then Christians and people of faith and religious people should have stood up and said, wait a minute, let's do some investigating for ourselves. Are these people just being political? Because everything has become politicized. Medicine is politicized. You know, everything is politicized. Absolutely everything. But when Christians didn't stand up, when people of faith didn't stand up, the left realized we've got an open window here. We can ride this pandemic all the way from religious or religious liberty or just freedom in America in general, all the way to socialism. We can take total control of people by keeping them in fear, and by keeping these people in fear, the people that tend to be conservatives, Republicans, free thinkers, so on, etc., we can force these people that are in fear to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Basically to bash the people that aren't in fear. So now, because the left has used this pandemic, people like me that are like, hey, listen, we've got a 99.7% approval rate. Yeah, of course, I don't want anybody to die. And it's stupid if you think I think otherwise, right? I don't want anyone to die. But I can also look at the science. I can look at the numbers without listening to Fauci, who's a flip-flopper like no tomorrow, has grown extremely wealthy in his position on the NIH, not just with his salary, but things that he's invested in. So no, I think he's motivated by money. And I think he's motivated by fame. He wants to look good. But Christians and churches are America's last line of defense. And this Equality Act aims to take them out. They are the left, and the left, and I mean the Democrats, are expanding the definitions of bigotry, and they're expanding the definitions of public gathering. Let me explain how. Were you going to say something, Mr. Maestro? All right. Okay, so here's what's happening. This bill expands the government's definition of bigotry, as well as the definition, again, of public gathering places, to include any place that, listen to this, provides exhibition, entertainment, recreation, exercise, amusement, public gathering in general, or public display. So anywhere where any activity like this occurs, entertainment, recreation, exercise, amusement, public gathering, churches, public display, now these places would be subject to these Equality Act laws. Well, okay, what is any place that provides any establishment within this Equality Act? It says any establishment that provides a good service or program would be subject to this new Equality Act. This is happening so fast, it's unbelievable. The Inequality Act discriminates against religious adoption agencies, even though there's plenty of secular or non-religious adoption agencies. This bill will specifically, and does specifically, because it's passed in the House, remember, does specifically target religious adoption agencies. So we'll be forced to live like Massachusetts, New York, and California. Let me give you a quick story. I have a buddy of mine that lives in the state of California. He and his wife, they have 2 children. He fostered 2 brothers, two little boys that grew up in a very rough home. Now they were young. I can't remember what age he initially got them, but I mean, I think they were like 4 or 5. I mean, they were pretty young, but they came from an extremely violent home where the mother was on drugs, heavy drugs, where the father had gone to prison for murder, and they were able to foster these children, and eventually leading to adoption. So it was really hard. It was extremely hard for them. I would talk to them, extremely difficult situation, but they grew to absolutely love and adore these little boys. And they were wondering, this had gone on for, I don't know if it was a year or more. It was a very lengthy process. Okay. So they were fostering, they made it clear to the social worker, I believe they had an attorney, if I recall correctly, that they wanted to adopt these boys. They didn't just want to be the foster parents. They wanted to adopt these boys. The process began. They were in California again. So the process began. They began the process of adopting these boys, and suddenly it was crickets. It was like, hey, what's going on? Calling the attorney, the adoption agency, the social worker they were working with. Well, the social worker that they were working with saying, listen, the adoption agency is now considering a gay couple rather than you guys. They'd rather place the kids, these boys, in the homes of 2 gay males. And I'm not knocking gay men. I'm just saying, you got a traditional family home. I don't care what you say. A man and a woman together are better than a man and man together or woman to woman together. There's more iron sharpening iron going on. I'm not knocking you, whatever, but I'm saying a traditional relationship is better for a kid to grow up in, call me whatever. I don't care. It's better. We all know that the best case scenario, the ideal scenario for, and don't get under condemnation, but for a child to grow up in is a male-female relationship, a male-female marriage. That is the best scenario for any kid, a healthy home to grow up in. Healthy home, male and female, mom and dad. All right. This agency ended up taking those kids away and placing them with the gay couple, allowing the gay couple to foster them for a shorter period of time and adopt them in a much quicker period of time. No reason. They didn't do anything bad. The agency just decided gay couple wants the kids. Let's give them a shot. This is California. It's how cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs they are out there. So they didn't care if it would, what impact it would have on the boys. They didn't care about the connection that those boys and those parents had made over the year. No, this gay couple wants them. They're gone. This will, and by the way, Massachusetts, this happens in Massachusetts, New York, and California, America's most liberal states. Where the heck are the Christians? Where the heck are the people of faith? Where the heck are the Republicans? The reason why this crap happens is because not enough people stand up. And I'm so tired. I got to say this. I'm sorry to vent, but I got to say, I'm so tired of flighty Christians that we're just going to pray for this. We're going to stay with it. The Lord is going to do. I'm a Christian. I say that as a Christian. Get your butts up out of the church and figure out what the heck is going on in the culture. Because you know what the culture is doing now? A tidal wave is about to come over your congregation. Because you weren't out creating the tidal wave in the culture is now about to drown your behinds. That's exactly what's happening. We stuck within our four walls. We thought okay, we brought somebody to church. Somebody got saved. Okay, that's great. That's swell. But and then you got a whole culture, a whole society of people and things happening that we just abandoned, that we just shunned. God forgive me. I did it to some extent. But then as you grow in your faith, you're like, man, these people need Christ too. These people need Jesus too. These people need to figure out their purpose too. God says to be in the world, not of the world. The problem with a lot of us people of faith, Jews, Catholics, Christians, we just totally abandoned the world. And we expected everything to go okay. Oh, we're Christians. We don't need to participate in this. Yes, you do. You're called to. You're not called to sit on your butts. You're not called to. Life isn't supposed to be easy. That's why I can't stand these little fairy tale preachers that I see. You become a Christian and life becomes great. No, you become a Christian and you become a warrior. Just simple as that. You live with purpose. Life isn't hard, but you live with purpose. You live with meaning. So where the heck are you Christians, Republicans that claim to be saving America? Where the heck are you in California, Massachusetts, and New York? I don't buy into the argument that we can't take California back. I just don't think there's enough people of courage in the Christian and faith community or in the Republican Party to make the arguments that they need. They just give up. I'm not giving up. I'm tired of it. Because and then we get stuff like this. So why was it a threat? Why was it such a threat? And this threat is going to expand under this Inequality Act. Why was it such a threat to leave orphans in a traditional family home? Why was it such a threat to California, to the Democrat Party, to the leftists? Because they know that a traditional home is better for kids. And they know they would have had another, perhaps with two little boys, perhaps two traditional family homes to deal with in the future, to vote conservative, to vote their values, to vote. So they're nipping that in the bud. Religious education and liberal public education will now be compelled by this Inequality Act to teach a concept of marriage that's totally antithetical to their faith, totally goes against their faith. They'll be forced to teach it. Think about that. They'll be forced to teach that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. This has nothing to do with, oh, we're old fogies, so we don't get it. No, these people straight up deny science. And they deny science, not because they don't believe in science, but that they know, going back to the whole individual thing, if they can put us in groups and they can focus on these groups, they can make enough people mad and call us the bad guys, they can control all of us. I mean, this is scary stuff. Look at what they're doing to Coca-Cola. I was going to talk about this, just a segue here real quick. Look at what the Coca-Cola company, stop buying Coca-Cola products. Screw Coca-Cola. Don't buy their products. They deserve to take a hit. You have some stuff, man, I know that some of their stuff, their antiques are very nice and expensive. Sell them. Get rid of them. Screw them. These people are telling their employees to be less white. Those are bigots. Bigots and racists are running the Coca-Cola company. All of this stuff intertwines because all they're doing is creating an environment of bigotry and hatred. And who benefits from this? The Democrat Party. They're the only ones that benefit. The Democrat Party. How do you be less white? How do you be less of God's, whatever God created you to be? How do you be less black? How do you be less Latino? Stop paying attention to these social justice warriors that are racist. The Ibram X. Kendis, the Robin DiAngelo, or whatever the heck her name is. These are racist bigots. How do you be less gay? How do you be? It's amazing. It's amazing how far these people have taken us. Also, this bill, not only that, would also target shelters, homeless shelters, battered women shelters, demanding that they admit men who say they're ladies. All right, now, gentlemen, can we have a frank discussion? You were chiming in on this earlier, J-Dog. Can we have a frank discussion? Let me tell you why this denies science, and let me tell you why it's important to identify and understand and recognize that there is a major difference between the sexes, not genders, male and female, because men have a sexual appetite, are sexually driven, unlike women. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of women in today's culture, because the leftists have beat it into them, or there's a lot of skanks out there. Let's just put it that way. All right. So I understand we're not in the same type of culture, but it's still true that in general, men have a much larger sexual appetite than a woman does. A man could go out and have sex with 50 women and not feel an emotional connection whatsoever. I'm just telling you the truth. All right. Just trying to be real with you. I don't care if you're talking about the godliest man you know. That's why the Bible just says flee sexual temptation, because God designed us. He gets it. The idea is to control that urge. But now what the left is doing is saying, hey, don't deny science, deny who men are, deny who women are, and stop controlling that appetite. Just go after it. In a sense, this whole concept that men can be women, women can be men, when it's proven that when people are counseled for gender dysphoria, the vast majority, I believe it's over 80%. I got to go back and look at the numbers. Just they're done with it. After literally a few months of counseling, one study that I read, young boys, young girls that grow up with these thoughts and these struggles of gender dysphoria. It's the only time I'll say gender when I'm using gender dysphoria. That grow up with these thoughts in their head. When they go through puberty, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of them will grow out of it, because we all grow up. Our mind is forming. Our mind isn't completely formed until we're 25. So a lot of us are dealing with different things, some different than others. But the idea now that men can say they're women and go into lockers rooms. Now, let me just say, when I was younger, I would have been like, I'm a girl. I grew up in LA. there were some good-looking women in LA. When I was a young kid, going in a boys' lockers room, I would see some of the girls in their PE shorts, and I thought, I'd much rather be going in there. I'd much rather be going in there. This bill gives those people permission to do so. All you have to do is pretend like you're a woman. Pretend like you don't even know if these people legitimately have gender dysphoria or if they're just like, I want to see some naked ladies. You guys have, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. And as a father of 2 daughters, I don't want my girls having to use the restroom with biological men. I say, like, look, if you go through the surgery and you have and do the change, okay. All right. At that point,
yeah,
go ahead. But if you haven't done that, and then even if you went through the surgery and you want to compete in sports, you can't, all right.
Yeah,
so
I totally agree. You're born a man, you compete as a man.
So
even with the surgery, I'm sorry.
Or it has to be a handicap system. All right. You're going to wear this, 40-pound backpack, while you do the hurdles. We're going to put these weights on your ankles as you do the swim, or whatever, the breaststroke.
Yeah,
that should be kind of fun to watch. So
that would
I would watch those sports.
I actually would watch
do
that if they. Okay, all right. Now, if they offered that where men had to wear like a 40-pound bag, maybe I'd watch. And I know there's a lot of you out there. Well, these men that want to be women take hormone blockers or do this and that. It doesn't matter. A woman will never have the same bone density as a man. You can destroy some of those hormones or whatever. It doesn't matter. You will still be on another level. Think of all these young girls that have and feminist movement. You're fake. You're phony. You no credit, no credibility anymore whatsoever. All these little girls that worked hard to make it to the I don't even like the WNBA, but I'm like, listen, you worked your butt off. You worked your butt off. Obviously, you did well amongst women to be able to make it to an the most elite level in women's sports. You should be rewarded for that. The same thing is true for track, gymnastics, whatever sport that exists. Softball. I actually like women's softball. I think it's, for some reason, I think that's the most entertaining female sport. I have no idea why, but anyway, should a man be able to come into, if Tim Tebow could have excelled in, you know what I'm saying? This is crazy. We've gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. This stuff has got to stop. Christian.
Now, I will say, on an entertainment level, though, if I think you should be able to retire from like the NBA or baseball. Then you have to wear a wig and lipstick, and you get to go in the NWA. And I can watch. NWA. Oh, and I don't know WNBA. Sorry, we're talking about something completely different. No, so and you have to and then you can dunk on them, but you're wearing a wig. You got to keep the wig on. You got to keep your makeup tight.
Like Larry Johnson back in the day.
Yeah, Grandmama. Yeah, I used to love that. Larry Johnson. He played with the Charlotte Hornets and the New York Knicks, I think, was the last team that he played for. Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, but this is crazy. I mean, men can go in women's bathrooms, locker rooms. Ladies, it's time for you guys to stand up. Stop buying into this nonsense. We were watching this American Idol tryouts last weekend, and there was a young girl that came on that was transitioning to a boy, and the mother was very accepting of this. And when the person was turned down by all of the judges that said, you're not quite there yet, immediately this person acted like a girl. Like the tears, and I'm speaking in general. And immediately, the person's natural reaction was to react like a female. And you're lying if you say men and women aren't different. Now, men might cry, well, they're going to suck it up. Okay, I'm not ready yet. And then they're going to go cry somewhere where it can't be seen. But this person reacted like the sex that she actually is. She started tearing up right there. And the girl that was transitioning into a boy started really sounding like a girl, even in her response. And that's because she is a girl. And I'm sorry, I have no respect for the parent. I'll put it that way. You guys remember Jack Phillips, the Masterpiece Cake Shop, this guy that just said, I will bake a cake for anyone, anybody, any occasion except a wedding. The guy's been in court for like 5 years. That's going to be all of us. Little Sisters of the Poor. We all like nuns, right? Well, now the so-called Equality Act, whether it's religious nurses, doctors, hospitals that are unwilling to perform abortions, or perform sex change operations that they disagree with, they'll be forced to under the law. So your conscience doesn't matter anymore. The only conscience that matters is that of the government. The only morality that will matter is government morality, national morality. In other words, you're controlled at that point. That's what we're going towards. That's what Democrats are voting for. The 1993 Religious Freedom Act, null and void, won't mean a thing. This Inequality Act will totally wipe that out. Any bits of religious freedom, even if you're an atheist, you should be thankful for, is absolutely gone, because you will be forced to comply with the state. You will be forced to conform to the state. There will be no individual liberty. There will be no individualism. It'll just be a bunch of robots. That's what this bill does. People, it's time to start standing up. It's time to call your congressman, whoever voted for this. I don't care if you didn't. This is one that we all should agree on. Men can't be women. Women can't be men. It is not, black suffrage is not the same as transgenderism. There's millions upon millions upon millions of black people in America. We make up 13% of the population. I'm not sure if transgenders, except for the fact that MTV is making them popular, make up more than 1% of the population, or 1/10 of 1%, to be quite honest with you. Because at first the numbers used to be almost that low. Then all of a sudden we started saying all of this stuff is okay. Now everybody and their mama has a transgender in the family. It's becoming a fad. It's really becoming a fad. There's this book, Irreversible Damage, where little white girls, because they are feeling so left out, are deciding to have sex change operations so they can become part of the victim class. This is what we're doing to young people. This is what the Ibram X. Kendis, all of this stuff is intertwined. The Robin DiAngelos, these racist bigots, they get paid for saying they're not bigots and calling everyone else bigots. It's foolishness. And we're falling for this crap. There's only one source. There's only one source for a moral authority. That is God. Once government becomes your God, it's over. Freedom as you know it is over. All right. You guys have anything to say? Any questions, comments, concerns out there in Facebook world? All right. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in to this week's edition of Tell It Like It Is. Let me just say this. White people, stand up. Less white, stand up. If you're not racist, if you don't see a black person and you're like, oh my goodness, we got to kill that N-word. And you're like, hey, listen, I love this person. And, I want, just like any other person, I would expect this person to show me, I would want to get to know them. They can be a friend. That's not racism. So there's no such thing as being an anti-racist. Being an anti-racist means being a bigot, because when you're an anti-racist, you're like looking in every cubbyhole. Where can I find racism? You're obsessed with race. That's racism. Anti-racism is racism. It makes you obsessed with race. It is sick. Stand up, white people. Don't end up acting like a bigot, but stand up against the left. Don't be afraid to say God is the only one that can judge my heart. I love black people like I love every other nationality, and I respect them like I do every other ethnicity. And I will get to know every individual as an individual, and I will judge every individual, not as a group, but as an individual. That's how you roll. And you got to fight back. You got to be willing to say it. You got to be willing to call out the left for the bigots that they are. I promise, last thing. Think about this. This Inequality Act, for all of you gay people out there, if this is true, if men can be women, if women can be men, you're not gay. The moment what if you're two lesbians and you're in a committed relationship and your spouse says, I feel like a man today? You're no longer gay. I thought being gay was supposed to be an identity in and of itself. Honestly, I hate when conservatives use it. I don't use that LGBTQ ABC crap. I don't do that. You're lesbian or you're gay. If you're bisexual, it means you're not lesbian or gay. You're confused. If you're a transsexual, it means you've had gender dysphoria. Maybe you've gone all the way, or maybe you haven't. If you're questioning, it means you ain't gay, because it means you're questioning being heterosexual too. Let's stop playing into the left word games. You're lesbian or you're gay, but if you gay people buy into this Equality Act, then you're not gay. You're not gay. The moment your spouse decides that they're a man, hey, Brenda, whatever. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go because I'm just ranting. You can join me tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. I will be streaming live from CPAC on Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio, where you're tuning in now. Check me out there. We'll be trying to get interviews from people at the event. So until next time, don't grow weary doing good. Don't grow weary doing good. God bless all of you.